If you've ever tried to like learn a language, say like Spanish or some any other foreign language, you'll kind of notice that you think your thoughts in your native language, for me that's English, and then you'll kind of translate them to whatever language you're trying to learn and then say those words out loud. And it provides this kind of barrier of entry when it comes to learning the language and a level of friction when it comes to using it. And you may become like more uncomfortable when you're using this other language just because you're not as comfortable. Like you need to go through this layer of abstraction just to use the language and kind of convey what you're trying to say. And I think that's the perfect analogy for why I like keyboarding so much. Notice how I didn't say typing there. I just mean that keyboarding in general, the act of using your keyboard and knowing how to use it and its features, and even just your workflow in general, which I'll get into in a second, it's extremely important because I think in the modern day, it's very easy to get distracted by anything. And if anything has any level of friction to it, we are immediately less likely to do it. And it was talked about in a book that I have called Atomic Habits. I don't have it right now with me, but there was a section in the book about how if you want to do a habit more often, you definitely need to decrease the level of friction when it comes to doing the habit in the first place. And so if you need to create anything online, you need to know how to use your keyboard. So as you saw in the intro, I have a ton of keyboards, and it would be crazy to go through all of them. So I'm just going to go through two of them that I think are the most interesting. This one right here, I hope you can see it. This is the Yunzi AL66. AL is for aluminum. It's an aluminum gasket mounted 66% keyboard, and it has linear milk switches. The reason I picked this one, it's actually the one I'm using currently. I have the other ones, but this is the one I use the most frequently, is because first off, I'm in a dorm room, so this is a little bit more quiet for my roommate. I think if I use some of my other keyboards, he would go insane. But it's also just very nice to type on. The linear feel is quite nice. I know my way around the keyboard, like pretty much all the keys. You can see in some of the other keyboards, I have like a lot more keys on it, like the numpad and that kind of stuff, and I don't end up using them. I also have some smaller keyboards that I didn't get to show, but they have too few keys, so they implement like a function key to implement some of the features of larger keyboards, and learning those commands can kind of be a pain. Okay, so the second keyboard I wanted to talk about is this one. This is the smallest keyboard that I have. It's not really as much of a productivity keyboard. It's more of like like an experimental keyboard. It's not really a keyboard actually. It's an M5 stack card computer. It's basically just like a mini computer that can act as a USB keyboard. And so why am I going over all of this, and how does this relate to the language thing I was talking about in the beginning? A lot of people go through their entire like careers and they don't really know how to type. They do like the whole finding and pecking thing where they find the key they want to press and they push it on the keyboard. And so they have thoughts in their head that they want to convey on the paper or the Google Doc, or when it comes to programming especially, they have the whole like idea in their head. And when it comes to putting it into code or putting it into words, it becomes problematic because they need to think the thought in their head, convert it into words, then characters, then press each individual character on the keyboard. Knowing how to type completely bypasses this layer of abstraction between you, the keyboard, and the dock. In the past, I did a lot of media consumption. Like I read a lot, like I still do read a lot. Like this is Animal Farm, which I'm reading right now. And I did a lot of gaming, a lot of like movie watching. I don't watch as much movies anymore, but the point being, I did a lot of consuming media and not a lot of creating it. I didn't really create a lot of anything. And that was primarily because there was just so much friction between me and writing anything. So in the past, I didn't really know how to type. So the best I could do was kind of write in a journal. And this was good for me at the time. But the reason that I don't have that many journal entries in the first place and I didn't write a lot is just because it was hard. It takes a lot of work to write. And that might sound complaining at first, but it actually really is the truth. Like writing takes a long time. But typing, when you know how to do it right, is super, super fast. So because writing was so hard and so slow and so boring for me, I never did it. All throughout like middle school and like early high school, I didn't do any kind of writing. All I did was just consume media. And I had thoughts in my head about the media, but the only way I could get it out was through talking about it. And I feel like a lot of human beings just have the desire to create, and we want to no matter what. So because I couldn't type, because I couldn't write, I did the only thing that I could do, and it was talk. It's January 21st now, and Trump signed a record number of executive orders. I did a lot of talking about politics over the years. The older videos really, really suck, and it's just because I'm not super natural on camera, and I'm still not to this day because I'm not very consistent when it comes to recording videos. But I had a ton of fun talking about politics. I did this every single day. The only reason I stopped is because it is a lot of work to make videos. And that plays exactly into what I was saying earlier about the friction and the layers of abstraction. When you have a lot of friction to doing a task, you just won't do it. And because of that, I just stopped making YouTube videos and I went back to just consuming media. That was until I really sat down and I learned how to type. Learning how to type was huge. I was into keyboards before just because I liked the way they sounded. Like mechanical keyboards in particular, like the ones that I've been showing throughout this video, are so much fun to play around with, like deconstructing them, modifying them, building them from scratch. So much fun. And I've had so much fun with that over the years. But knowing how to use them was the biggest thing that really made keyboarding really valuable to me. Once I really learned how to type, everything became so much easier. I had a thought in my head, and before I knew it, it was just on the dock. If I had like an idea for a program, or like, I guess, a smaller idea, like a function in a program I was writing, I'd be able to create the function like this. It was so remarkably fast. And what really supercharged my writing wasn't just learning how to type. Learning how to type was like level 1. What really pushed me forward was learning Vim motions. And that's something that I really want to get into. So just stick with me for a sec. So this here is NeoVim. And what it is a text editing system. And all it allows you to do is essentially go between your files, if you have the right extensions, obviously. But it allows you to navigate through text using just your keyboard. And this is really big because, especially in programming, we spend a lot of time just like going to lines. For example, like if I want to go to the beginning of this file, I'll go to like GG. And if I want to go to the end, I can just type capital G. It's a lot of commands. It's like a whole nother language of navigating text. But once you go through that learning curve, you can get to anywhere in the text pretty easily. Like if I wanted to delete like this whole function, for example, it considers it a paragraph. So I would just hit DAP and the paragraph is gone. I can also just undo all the changes I made like this. So what made this so big for me is it really took away like that level of abstraction that I was talking about. And it made it really, really easy for me to like just get ideas onto paper. And I loved Vim Motion so much, I don't even use it for just programming anymore. In writing the script, and even when it comes to taking notes, I'll always use Vim Motions. I use it to type everything. Every assignment I've ever written for this class has been in Obsidian, and I've written it using Vim Motions. It's just because it is so much faster, and it just turns my ideas into text. In fact, I loved Vim Motions so much, I made my own Chrome extension that brings Vim Motions to the browser. It actually ended up being pretty popular. Right now, it doesn't have as many users right now just because I haven't updated it in a while, but I really do think the idea has potential. Okay, but that's still off topic. What I'm trying to get at is I've never really needed to use AI that much when it comes to writing or when it comes to programming, because a lot of people use it to generate what they consider boilerplate code or boilerplate writing, which is just like taking text and like building an outline, and it's because they have ideas in their head and they don't know how to turn the ideas into text because of that layer of abstraction that is the keyboard. That layer of abstraction prevented me from creating so much. I didn't even know I liked programming until like my later years of high school because I just didn't know how to type. I didn't know how to use my workflow effectively. I made YouTube videos because it was the only thing I could do. The only thing I knew how to do was talk because writing was too difficult and I didn't really know how to type. So above all else, if I can go back in time, I would have learned to type so much faster. And this isn't just about typing. Like my advice to people who don't create is just you definitely have some kind of layer of abstraction between you and the thing you want to create, and just you need to remove it. There was a layer of abstraction between me and making YouTube videos initially. It's because I didn't know how to talk. I was too socially awkward to talk into the camera. And so I didn't know how to make YouTube videos because I didn't know how to talk. Once I practiced and I removed it, making videos became easier. And the same thing happened with pretty much all the writing I've done because of the keyboarding. This has really changed the way I see a lot of the habits that I tried to take on in my life. Like you can see the pull-up bar back there, right? There was a layer of abstraction between me and going to the gym. Like I just didn't want to get out of bed, put on my shoes and go to the gym. And so I like putting a pull-up bar in my room made me increase the amount of pull-ups I can do just because there was no friction between me and the gym anymore. Same thing goes for running. I didn't really want to go to like a treadmill in the gym, so now I just run outside. I don't even run on a track anymore. I just go run wherever, like around my neighborhood or whatever. It really just comes down to how easy is it for you to get to that habit in the first place. And understanding how friction plays into my habits has also really helped me kick bad habits. When I have like junk food laying around the house, obviously I'm going to eat it. So just not keeping it in a place that's easily accessible vastly decreases the amount of it that I eat. Keeping books around my workspace encourages me to just open them and read them from time to time, so I end up reading more. While keeping a video game console next to my workstation makes me want to play video games more. It really is just how easy is it for me to get to that thing. This has also kind of played a role in my politics too, in a way. I notice how people in bad environments tend to engage in activity that leads to bad outcomes for them later down the line, because those bad habits and those bad, sometimes unlawful actions are so easily accessible. So yeah, I create far more just because I'm able to keyboard and because I'm able to talk. And I think it's just played a role in how I approach everything. I try to break down these barriers of entry and reduce the amount of friction between me and the things I want to do. And it leads me to just do more of what I want in my life. Like making friends that are more social have forced me to get into more social situations, and I end up meeting more people that way. It really has just transformed the way I see everything, and it really did just start with a keyboard.